What's going on? Welcome to episode 2 of End of the Tunnel podcast. As always, I'm your host, Derek Causer. And before I get started, before I jump into things, I just wanted to say that, I had some notes on some things that I thought I was going to talk about today, but I just got some other things that came through into my mind, and honestly, I typically find that that's the stuff that just for some reason I need to talk about that day, so I haven't really sat and made notes about this, so I may be a little bit all over the place with this, but hopefully at the end of everything it all kind of makes sense. So, I wanted to start off just say that, you may have noticed that there was a little bit of a pause in between episode 1 and episode 2 here, and what I want to get into for that, just getting started here, reason being is, in the last couple of weeks I just mentally haven't been feeling it, and I started this channel, as I mentioned in the last episode there, because I want to be able to talk about the issues that I've had and all of that kind of stuff, and, just be real and be open, and hopefully that'll lead to others being able to feel like they can be a little bit more open and feel like they can be a little bit more honest and kind of end that stigmatization of any talking about anything mental health. But yeah, the last couple weeks, honestly, I wasn't mentally there. I was having my own challenges, and this week still, I've been having a high anxiety week, and even like Tuesday, I had a client and I had to reschedule her just because I honestly felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack when I was starting to drive to the gym there, and that's not something, that I want to put myself into. I quit my job and started running my own businesses because that was a feeling that I didn't want to have, and the fact that I run my own businesses means that I'm able to I have clients that, because I'm so open about everything, I typically gives me the ability to, when needed, reschedule and that kind of thing, which is something that I'm incredibly grateful for, that I have that support. But what I wanted to talk about with that is making sure that, and I know I've talked about this a lot, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you hear me talk about this all the time, because I believe it's so important, and I believe it's something that just as a society isn't talked about enough, and that's taking time to give yourself some grace and make yourself okay. Because the way that I look at it, and especially going back to the example, going to that training session, if I go into the gym and I'm having an anxiety attack, one of the things that I kind of pride myself in being in a trainer is that I'm able to be someone that my clients can talk to and be open with, and that they can, come to for advice, not only physically, but, I can add my little bit, and, my mental health, the knowledge that I have, the knowledge that I'm continuing to grow. And if I go in, with my own issues like that, and I can barely do anything, I can barely move because I'm having the anxiety attack, like I was saying, it's not doing me any good. It's making it worse for me. My next day is going to be terrible because I'm so tired out from all that kind of stuff. I'm really just stealing energy from the next day, and at the end of the day, it's worse for my client. Like I said, because I pride myself on that stuff, I really truly believe that I need to be able to bring at least some kind of energy. Some days, obviously, I'm going to be lower energy, but I need to be able to bring some kind of energy to that. That's something that I try really hard with my relationships during the day, that if I'm sitting down with someone for my other business, or, if I'm in a training session, or if I'm talking to anybody one-on-one or anything like that, one thing that I try to do is, bring a little bit of my energy, and that's, we all have different energy, but having a higher vibration, and to kind of explain that a little bit more, just holding a little bit of that happiness that other people might not necessarily have, and just trying to give off that energy. And usually, other people, and I've seen this in my training sessions a lot, if they come in a little bit lower energy, their energy starts to pick up as they feel that, because they feed off of you. So that's one thing that I really try to bring to all my stuff. So, if I come onto the camera here and I start talking and I'm at a point where I'm having my anxiety, I'm going to be so laid back and just can barely talk, and it's going to be really slow. And it's not an energy that's going to be beneficial. So it's not something that I'm not going to make a video at that point, because it's not worth it for me. And yeah, but so that led to, you know, having a couple weeks off, and now I don't plan on doing that often, but it's something that, you know, as I mentioned, I believe I mentioned that first video, I'm still learning about my own mental issues. You know, I'm still learning how to handle myself, and just how to change my schedule to make sure that when I'm working, I'm able to be the best me possible. Because, you know, if I'm working 16-hour days every day, I know that I'm going to burn out quick. I'm that type of person. You know, some people might be able to work those hours. If you are, great, awesome. That's great for you. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to pretend to be that kind of person, because I'm not. And that's not something, and I know there's lots of people that are on the same boat as me with that, and to me that's not something you should be ashamed of. You know, we all are wired differently, we're all built differently. So one of the biggest things for me in life is having self-awareness and knowing, you know, how you work, how you tick. And that's something that, as I mentioned, I've been working on a ton. And it's really helped me to be better in all my areas of life. Like, it's helped me to live what feels like a way more balanced life, because, you know, it's, in the past, maybe I work that 16-hour day, and all of a sudden, after a couple days, I'm starting to get burnt out, and I'm like, well, why the fuck am I getting burnt out? That's why. But that was before I had the self-awareness to really realize, and you know, I'm the type of person that I'm going to beat myself up if I'm not doing what I expect myself to do. So if I expect myself to work those days like that, and all of a sudden I'm getting burnt out, well, it just feeds into my anxiety, it feeds into my depression. I start feeling worse about myself, my self-confidence lowers. However, once I really grew that self-awareness and understood that, you know, that wasn't necessarily anything wrong with me, but that's just how I am. You know, it is what it is. You know, there's nothing really wrong with that. I can get lots of work done in, you know, 8 or 10 hours, whatever it is. And that typically works better for me, because I can get a lot done while I'm feeling better. Otherwise, if I do like the longer hours, I just again, get burnt out. I'm not going to be working as hard, that kind of thing. But yeah, self-awareness to me is one of the biggest keys in life. Just because, you know, if you don't know who you are, how are other people going to know who you are? If you don't understand what you're doing as a person, how are other people going to understand what you're doing? You know, one thing that when I started my personal training business was talked about a lot, to me as a beginner trainer, was that you have to have, you know, your niche of who you're training. You know, have to have kind of what your main focus is, because that allows other people to see what your main focus is, and they know then, oh, well, he's working with athletes, I'm an athlete, I fit into him there. Or, you know, he works with weight loss clients, I'm looking to lose weight, that's my client. Like, it's that kind of thing where people, because you make those kind of guidelines for your life and yourself, people are able to follow that a little bit better. You know, if you treat yourself like shit, other people are going to treat you like shit too. You know, if you don't compliment yourself, why are others going to compliment you? And I'm not saying that's right, but that's the way it is. People are going to be with you as you are with yourself. So that's, you know, why I really believe that self-awareness is one of the biggest keys in life. I believe that, to me, you know, there's quite a few things to be successful that I believe are, like, big characteristics that you need to have, but I believe that self-awareness is probably, to me at least, and others may disagree with that, but to me, self-awareness is the number one key on that. And with self-awareness, again, going back to the mental side of it, knowing when to take the time for yourself, and knowing when to give yourself grace, and knowing when to push yourself. You know, there's times where maybe I'm feeling a little bit anxious, and but I know that it would be good to push myself and to do something. That's not all the time, but you know, there's times where you just got to grow yourself. And if you're not, you know, self-aware, you're either going to never push yourself, so you're never going to really grow. Or on the opposite end of things, you're going to constantly push yourself and things just aren't going to end up well. So yeah, self-awareness is really, really key. And how I personally grew that, I don't know how. I haven't really studied how to grow it much, but what I've really found for myself was when I was dealing with depression heavily, and the anxiety was really taking over my life. I didn't really question it. I just kind of fell and succumbed to it. But then once I started, working on improving my life, and I was starting to read, and just between the books and what I was trying to do in my life, that all fed into me trying to think about how I could improve myself. What am I doing that should be done differently now? What am I doing that's making myself feel good? What makes me feel like shit? What makes me mad? All those little different questions that I asked myself, and that fed into my self-awareness and understanding, myself. And through that, I learned a lot about myself. Through that, I learned to, I'm reading Daring to Trust now. I learned that I have some issues with trust, that, stuff that I just need to work through. And even reading that book, I learned something every time I read that book that just takes me back to different times in my life. And, that really just helps me to be more aware of, this is a problem that I have. Even in this book, like, I see stuff and it's like, oh, I didn't realize, like, I would get a feeling from specific things, but I wouldn't really acknowledge it or anything like that. It was just one of those things that I kind of just let happen. But it wasn't until I read that book where it was like, oh, yeah, I feel that way when this happens. Well, why do I feel that way? And then I'd go back and, find something the last couple years in my childhood, whatever it is, and just kind of learn a little bit more about me, and then through that able to work better through it and understand myself. So, like, even yesterday there was a time where there was a point where when I was at the gym, I got extremely anxious and just my mood dropped, and I didn't know why. But then I started thinking about different things that I've gone over in that book and in my head, and I realized, okay, well, yeah, this wasn't someone else. This was just how I'm kind of programmed right now. And through that, I was able to go, okay, well, I'm not really mad. Like, nothing bad happened there. It's just, programming in my brain that's how I react. Now, is that right? No, I don't think that's the right way to react. So that's something that I'm working on, changing myself and helping myself to realize that, I'm not the problem, that kind of thing. But yeah, self-awareness, to really explain this, I want to go back a little bit, because obviously we're in October here now, with COVID going on, and everything started in March there. The gym got shut down in March, and that was really where I put it up being a shit show, just because that was when the gyms closed down. That was the biggest thing that really took over my personal life. There's other things that people had to deal with, and I feel for them, but the gym was my biggest challenge to get through when that closed, because I know that being able to sit with my clients and being able to do everything with my clients really helps me mentally. So when that closed, I fell into a bit of a depressive state. I struggled to get out of bed for a bit. And then I kind of turned my energy to my other business. And I spent more time working in that, which was great for a while. And then, things kind of slowed down, and I struggled working on solely that and not working on my personal training business, not seeing the people like I normally am. And so I knew that I needed to make some changes. I knew that I wasn't feeling my best. And that's kind of where it came to me starting to put out videos on my Facebook again. And through that, a big thing was seeing the support that I was receiving for my own mental health, and seeing how other people were, getting value out of it, and feeling like they weren't alone, really helped me to feel better as well. I feel better as I help people feel better. That's one thing that's really big in my personality. So that's kind of where I started thinking about starting this YouTube channel, starting the podcast, all that kind of stuff. And, there was a couple months that happened, and I knew that over time I was starting to slow down, and again, just starting to struggle a bit. And August was the 1 month there where I really take everything back to, that I knew that the gyms were open again, and I was having fun working with my clients. My clients were all having really great success there, but I knew that I wasn't feeling fully myself, and that I was going downhill mentally, and I needed to fix that. So, I took a trip out to Canmore, and went to the mountains, did some hiking, that kind of thing, and that really brought me back to, I'd say it grounded me in a sense that, it brought me back to remembering what life is about, and what, I want out of life, and that kind of thing, and really helped me to remember that, all I really want is happiness. And I think that there's a lot of people that, as much as they talk about money, they really just want happiness. And a lot of people put happiness with money. And now I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm just saying that, at the end of the day, most of us really just want happiness. That's what we want. So August, that was that first weekend in August when I had sat back and done that. And then it was, the rest of the month I kind of spent some time not working so much, working a bit, making sure I was able to pay my bills and that kind of thing. But outside of that, I was spending some time thinking about what I really wanted, and what made me happy, and, why was I feeling so down. And that's really where I kind of made the switch in my life, and that's, looking at September, my first week was pretty slow. I had my normal clients in the gym. It was all good there. But my other business, I had about 3 meetings that week. And then, so not a whole lot. And then the next week that doubled. And I still had all my clients in the gym. And the next week, there was some more. And the next week, it kept adding up, so that my week was honestly busier now at that point than it had been since before COVID. And I don't even know if I was that busy before COVID happened ever. I really don't think that my businesses both had at the same time been this busy ever. Which was due to me taking the time to sit back and think about what was important to me. Thinking about what I really wanted out of my life right now. And that's something that, last week, as I mentioned there, I had a couple weeks of having higher anxiety, wasn't fully feeling it. And that's, I was getting, a big part of that is I was getting used to and building up my, how do I put it? I wasn't used to working that hard, or in terms of having that many meetings, that many clients, that kind of thing. So I had to get used to that. It's something that, when you, same kind of idea that if someone goes from working 8 hours to 12 hours a day, they're just not used to it. They have to get used to that, and it takes some time. And that's something that I was going through a bit, so this kind of got put in the back burner. However, it's not in the back burner now because I'm getting used to everything. But yeah, the last week, I've spent some time just kind of slowing down a little bit. I worked this week, but I slowed it down again. Because I felt that I just needed that time to kind of get myself straight again, remember why I'm doing everything, and now at this point, I've got a couple more days till, as I sit here recording this, it's Friday, so Monday I'll be hitting the ground hard again, and, yeah, but, it is what it is. That's, we gotta figure out how we work best, and that's kind of how I've started to slowly figure out. And obviously I'll continue learning about myself in terms of that. But, yeah, And one thing that I sat down and did this month that was different was I looked at, what are my goals for October? What do I want to complete in October? What are some little things that I can do for myself this month? Little things that maybe I can buy. Obviously, I don't want to just go out and spend a bunch of money, but what are some little things that I can do for myself, buy for myself, that'll help me feel better in the long run? And everything I look at is, okay, well, how will this help me in the long run? I struggle looking at, just the short term of things, because I've programmed my brain to look at that long run of things over the last little bit. And that's really just taking the time to give myself grace has changed everything for me. Because in the past, I've been one of those people that, and I know there's a lot of people that share this, I've been one of those people that if I'm not doing 100% of everything and just doing absolutely everything, I'm not feeling good, because I felt like I needed to be perfect. And then I accepted that that's not true. I don't need to be perfect. I need to be the best me. And I'm not going to be the best me if I'm not giving myself grace, if I'm not allowing myself to take the time that I need. And I know that there's some people that aren't taking the time they need. And hopefully, this video is able to help them see that they really just need to take that time for themselves. Because I had one person that basically gave me shit on the phone, in a good way, that I needed to do what I was preaching, and I needed to give myself some grace, and I needed to forgive myself. So, if you're stuck in that same kind of loop like I was, just know, it's okay. I understand what you're going through. And it's not going to be easy. Like, it's a lot easier said than done to give yourself grace. But you got to give yourself grace. And once you're, practiced with it, and once you do it a bit, it gets so much easier. And your life gets so much better. You get so much happier because you feel like you're really living as yourself. And with that, I've gotten feeling stronger about who I am and what my personality is, and grown to more accept who I am. Obviously, I'm going to continue working to better myself, but I'm not in the past where, maybe I apologize for how I work. I'm not going to apologize for that anymore, because that's who I am. I'll take advice. I'm always open to advice. I'm always open to criticism, anything. But at the end of the day, if I know that it's not going to be helpful to me, I'm not going to take it, because that's not me. And especially nowadays, when we live in a society where I truly believe that a lot of people, I don't want to say fake people, but a lot of people just really, they start seeing one thing and they start doing that one thing, or they start hanging out with one person, they act the exact same, and they're not strong enough in their own opinion of themselves that they're able to switch so quickly. And I did that for years, and I don't shame anybody for doing that, because I completely understand that. Like I said, I did it for years, and I understand how easy it is to do. But I'm personally done with it. It was so mentally tiring for me, and just to be unapologetically myself has been one of the best things for myself. And I feel like it's brought me more success so far as I've slowly gotten into it. Obviously only time will tell, but I really believe that to be successful, you just need to be yourself. Accept that. Work on growing yourself, work on bettering yourself, but accept that you are you. You're wired your own way. and nobody can take that away from you. I hope that, this was helpful for somebody. As always, you can find me on Instagram at KasurDerek, at KASURDEREK. Subscribe to my YouTube here. Drop a like. If there's anything that you guys want to hear from or hear about, drop a comment on that, and I'll try my best to get to it. But yeah, I hope you guys all have an awesome weekend. Talk to you later.